Now, while we are filling our grueling and empty stomachs now with your sumptuous lunch, now allow us also to fill your brain cells with our next session. So, as the world anxiously waits for the lockdown from COVID-19 to end, a new generation of workers is evolving and getting ready to take on the new world of work. Our next speaker, Mr. Miguel Balansag, will be tackling the new global workforce entitled Gen R, Rise of the New Generation Workers in the New Normal. Mr. Miguel Leroy Balansag is a chartered professional in human resources, a chartered member of the Australian Human Resources Institute, and a certified learning and development professional. He's also the chief executive officer and managing partner of Circa Logica Group. Seasoned HR leader, consultant, resource speaker, process transformation advocate, startup and SME success advisor, and also was recognized as number 38 in the list in 2019 Top 100 Filipinos to follow on LinkedIn for inspiration and learning. HR professionals and people managers, Mr. Mikel Balansag. Hi, Sir Michael. Good afternoon.
Hi, Jester. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, everyone. No, I've been on standby since earlier this morning, so really great topics that we have from all of the speakers. And my topic actually today will complement most of the topics that have been discussed and those that will be discussed later on. No, but before that, I'd like to thank everyone from all platforms. No, you may be watching this through Facebook or some other platforms, one group or one page or another. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank all of our really generous sponsors as we strive to make this free to attend for all. And thank you then sa lahat ng HR leaders and people managers who are currently watching right now. This is all for you, and we strive to make sure na talagang we abreast ourselves with updates in the HR community, best practices, etc. So let me share my screen. All right. So as we are waiting for things to come back to normal, no, we may feel na parang it's actually back to normal, no, but it's not. We're we're getting there, pero hindi pa talaga normal ang lahat, and yet so much have changed, no, an entirely new generation of workforce has emerged, no, maybe ito bago siguro to sa atin. This is also new for me, and I'd like to share this with everyone. And we need to be ready with this new generation that will arrive in our workspace. So the global workforce has been divided into five diverse generations, no, as HR leaders and people managers. Alam natin, memorize natin ang mga to. We've been attending numerous learning sessions, numerous trainings on how to effectively manage each generation and make sure na they fit holistically in our unique and respective organizations. Now we have the traditionalists or the silent generation. No, it depends. These brackets are ano to ha, disputed to kasi one source may have slightly different range, plus minus maybe 2-3 years, but it's sort of mga nasa ganyang range. So mga mid 1920s to mid 1940s, who are still in our workforce, they are the traditionalist or silent generation. We also have our baby boomers, no? These are yung mga mid 1940s until mga mid 1960s who are part of our workforce. We call them the baby boomers generation. Um, we have the Gen X. Ito yung mga mid 1960s hanggang mga early 1980s, mga 81, 82. Some sources would say mga hanggang 84. No, it varies. But we call them the Generation X. Um, Pinaka mainit, no, especially in the last couple of years, especially prior to COVID, no, a year, 2 years ago. So talaga yung hot topic noon, the Gen Y or yung millennials na tinatawag natin. So I'm sure most of you have attended sessions on managing millennials in the workplace, how to motivate millennials, etc. So ito yung generation na yan, mga early 1980s hanggang mga late 1990s, 1995, 1996, mga some hanggang 1998, yung period na yon where they've transitioned from um, no tech or low tech to talagang high tech, no? And we also have yung bago sa ating workforce, um, late 1990s, mga 1998 onwards hanggang present. Of course, those who are already able to work, no, these are what we call the Gen Z or Generation Z, or some would call it iGen, or some would call it Centennials. No, ito yung mga digital natives natin, yung talagang bata pa lang, they are exposed na, no, yung mga chikiting natin, naka-iPad talaga yan, naka-phone talaga yan, familiar sa YouTube lahat ng yan. They are part of this generation, yung Gen Z natin. All of these generations, lahat ng to, have characteristics, no? Unique characteristics, iba-iba, and dealing with them in the workplace, as we know, is different. Motivating them is different kasi magkakaiba ang generation ng mga yan. But the recent worldwide lockdown, ayan, nilagay natin siya dyan, finorce ng recent lockdown worldwide. This pandemic has forced all these generations to adapt to a new pero identical lifestyle ng remote working. Regardless if you're a baby boomer, regardless if you're a millennial, pare-pareho, we are all required to adapt to an identical way of a lifestyle, an identical way of working. These generations who were vastly different, sobrang magkakaiba, are now facing similar professional demands, no? Pareho. Common limitations. Almost everyone is required to learn how to navigate Zoom, 'di ba? Dapat lahat marunong, regardless of your generation, knows how to attend an online meeting. Lahat naging online, regardless 'yan, walang pinipili kasi we're forced by the pandemic. In a matter of weeks, yung malaking majority ng workers, nung nag-lockdown sometime in March, mga end of March until April, we've adapted and developed new habits kasi we were forced to. So nagkaroon tayo ng mga new habits, nagkaroon tayo ng mga new beliefs, nagkaroon tayo ng mga bagong work ethics. And this does not apply to a particular generation. Lahat, again, talking about all these generations na napag-usapan natin earlier, all of us were forced to think alike. As part of my work, I get a chance to speak with various business leaders, no, mga some of our clients as well, employees across different industries and regions. And I've observed something in response to the current situation. Ang napansin ko is that people are learning everything. No, we're learning how to do this. The fact that we're doing this assembly online na a year ago hindi natin iniisip na possible, is already part of this transition. We were forced to learn, we were forced to unlearn things na nakasanay natin before, and recalibrate yung way of doing things, no? Learning, unlearning, and recalibrating ourselves. It seems na parang the workers have hit the reset button. Parang lahat ng generations na to, okay, ulit tayo from the start. This is the new normal. This is how we'll deal with things according to the requirements. And because of this, wala na lahat ng mga old na categories natin. Um, lahat sila nag-merge, and we call them Generation R. So what is Gen R or Generation R? This may be something that's new to you. Baka narinig nyo na in the past. Baka first time nyo marinig. But this is really interesting. And I'm sure most, if not all of you, will agree dito and would even classify yourself as part of Generation R. No? The emergence of Generation R. Generation R or gen recalibrate. No, this is a group of individuals who, during the course of the lockdown, have developed new skills. Ang dami yan, no? Kahit ngayon, we've been attending to numerous learning sessions kasi we're at home eh. We have all the time in the world. So we have developed skills na hindi natin alam na kaya pala natin in the past. We remain relevant in current conditions. Dati hindi natin alam kung ano yung nangyayari. Now, we're aware of what's happening. We have embraced new paradigms. In one way or another, nagbago yung mindset natin, nagbago yung way of how we look things. For me, I'd like to share something. In the past, talagang when I do maybe payments sa kung saan I really go to banks. Pero the lockdown has introduced me to e-wallet na I didn't know na okay, ganun pala ka-convenient. I wouldn't have known that kung hindi nag-lockdown. Lahat ngayon pwedeng online na. Because of that, Gen Rs readjusted how they view the world. Now, there are things na hindi possible, we didn't thought, hindi natin naisip na possible in the past. But now, we are all forced na maging posible. There are industries na, especially sometime in the past, may mga discussions about remote working, working from home, ang dami niyan eh. And we disagreed as HR leaders, especially coming from mga industries na almost impossible yung idea ng pag-work from home. But this situation has forced us to create processes and guidelines para maging posible siya. Yung mga companies na walang business continuity plan, walang program kung anong gagawin, nagkaroon sila because they are forced to. So Gen Rs have given up their old way of thinking and they have developed a new point of view. Etong generation na to feels so much more in control. They are more resilient and they're more comfortable with ambiguity. No? Gen Rs are preparing to work harder than ever before. Kasi alam natin na, okay, kahit pala gaano ka-stable tong industry ko currently, na I never thought na pwede palang um, mag-downfall, mangyayari pala siya. So, kailangan kong maging creative. Kailangan kong mag-isip ng ibang paraan kung paano ako magso-survive. And that would apply to everyone. We were forced to work harder than ever before, find new ways of achieving productivity, especially we're now working from home. Ano to, abrupt, walang training period, walang transition, biglaan, okay, sa bahay ka mag-work. And nagkaroon tayo ng skill in terms of how to balance things and a sense of purpose. Kasi especially if we still have our job and how as HR practitioners, we can help our organizations and our employees. Similar to what most of us did some 2 years back nga nung ang hot topic natin was managing millennials in the workplace as HR leaders. It is also important now that we know what Gen R is. Importante that we understand, no, we understand yung characteristics ng Gen R. If your company has already um, asked employees to report back sa office, you may have already seen these characteristics kahit kayo mismo if you have already reported back sa office. If not, for some other companies na hindi pa fully operational or they really wanted to end the year and maybe start um, yung full operations by next year, then you'll get to experience this in the future. It is really important for us to understand yung characteristics ng Gen R. And again, I'm no longer talking about millennials or Gen X or kung ano. This is all of your employees who are currently working from home or who were previously working from home. I've listed four of the common characteristics. So we'll go through all four and then later on we'll see kung paano ba tayo as HR leaders, as companies, can make adjustments and shift how we do things based on these characteristics. Number one, Gen R has prepared for the new normal of work. They're ready, no, they're prepared for the new normal of work. Gen R workers believe na ang world of work is going to change talaga. It will never be the same. No, it will change significantly kapag na-resolve na lahat ng to. Or maybe in your respective companies, kung pinabalik na sila, they know na it will never be the same. Marami ka ng process na kailangan pagdaan. Maybe from the guard, may process na. From front desk, may process na. And they need to make adjustments accordingly. And if not, they are already preparing for it now. Gen R feels that the future workplace will become more competitive. No, alam nila na, okay, especially for companies who unfortunately had to let go of some people, they now feel na hindi pwedeng chill-chill lang ako. Kasi pwede palang mangyari to. And I need to be important in my company. I need to make sure na I contribute para I am one of those na importante and if the company selects who to retain or who to let go, hindi ako kasama doon sa latter. So they feel that this new workplace will become more competitive. And this will impact their career direction, na magbabago yan, and future opportunities. Pero instead of waiting for that to happen, Gen R workers have actually committed to learn. And I'm sure most of us would agree, at least one new skill during the lockdown. Nasa bahay tayo. We saved the time of traveling, commute, bihes, sometimes even ligo, no? We save that time. And we have now more time to learn new things. Ang dami kasi din nagsulputan na opportunities for learning, for developing yourself, skill enhancement. And in one way or another, nagkaroon tayo ng chance to maybe start a new hobby na hindi tayo nagkaroon ng time in the past or learn something na wala tayong oras in the past because we now have more time dahil nasa bahay tayo. So I guarantee that you have learned at least one new skill during this lockdown. And bukod doon, Gen R, they plan to have multiple sources of income and would try new roles dahil nga sa mga natutunan nilang skills, new roles, new jobs. Once bumalik na sa normal, this pandemic has nilabas nito yung entrepreneur in us, 'di ba? We need to find ways to survive and we need to find ways to put food at the table. So ang dami. Some would, I saw a lot of my friends na nagpa-part-time na rin sa insurance companies. Ang dami na nagbebenta online, no, mga online sellers, mga taong tahitahimik lang, didn't expect na okay, siya pala yung tipo ng tao na kayang magbenta online, may ganun pala siyang personality. But it's actually the situation that forced them to do such. And that same person na nakilala mo before lockdown is no longer that same person na darating after the lockdown. Kasi they've been through a lot. As in, tagal nito eh. Sobrang tagal. They've been through a lot. And they expect na they no longer rely on just sweldo, on just compensation. Kasi it pwedeng mawala at any time, pwedeng mahati at any time. So they find ways on kung paano mas magkakaroon ng alternate sources of income. Item number 2 dito on our characteristics for Gen R is that they are finding productivity in remote work setting. No, ito naman 'yon. Sabi ko kanina, biglaan, instant yung shift natin, our transition from waking up early, preparing, traveling, going to work talaga, and then nandun yung ano pa lang yung kumbaga doon pa lang darating yung katawang lupa mo pag nasa office ka na naka-work mode on ka, nawala yan instantly, no transition at all. Now, we have been, for most of us, working from home for extended period of time that we've established new habits sa bahay. And we may or may not feel that we're more productive. Kasi kung hindi, maybe through the course of time, naging mas productive tayo kasi tayo lang, no? Walang ibang tao, nakafocus ka talaga. And pag pinabalik natin sila sa office, it will be a challenge na ito na yung nakasanayan kong setup. And then I'll go back to the old way of doing things. And some may have challenges, while many workers prefer working sa yun, predefined fixed office hours, madami yan. Gen R actually prefers the remote work option na pwede naman pala akong mag-work from home. Natututukan ko pa yung mga bata, may iba pa ako naaasikaso, but I still get the job done. And na-open na yung opportunity. So, pwede naman pala akong mag-remote employment or remote work. And that's one challenge, especially pag pinabalik na natin sila sa workplaces. Meron kaming some of our clients, we always ask them, especially sa recruitment, if the work is office-based or home-based, or if home-based, until when, or is this permanent? No, and we also saw a huge chunk of candidates na they prefer working from home kasi kaya pala na mag-work from home and still be productive. No, they believe that flexible schedules and technology, basta may technology, no, allows them to be more productive when working from home. Lalo na yung baka before wala silang wifi, ngayon nagpakabit na sila. Companies were forced to install productivity tools that can manage remote employees. Nakaset up na lahat. And they feel na, okay, this actually works. And it gives me more time for my personal errands or for time for family. Bakit hindi ganito na lang? Number 3, they are prioritizing a balance between personal and professional. No, despite the lockdown blurring boundaries between home and work, yung Gen R workers natin, or Gen R employees, have learned to juggle. You're forced eh. You've learned to juggle na, okay, itong time na to is work. Kahit na you're in the same space. Itong time na to, I work tong time na to ay for my professional, it's my professional time for work to. And they were able to do that, to juggle that successfully. Managers are showing an understanding sa schedules, offering appreciation for hard work. Because of that, employees are finding new ways to achieve a work-life balance na kung dati sobrang busy ko, extended hours in the office, now I still get to see my children, my loved one, and I still get to do get things done. No, kahit mag-OT pa ako, I'm in the same place, so I can juggle yung both of my priorities. Lastly, they are becoming more environmentally conscious. No, tayo naging mas naging environmentally conscious dahil sa sitwasyon, no? There are some who even calls out yung mga hindi sumusunod sa health protocols, kasi we are significantly impacted. Interestingly, as a result of the lockdown, yung Gen R perceptions around the environment, around sustainability has shifted. Nauso yung mga plantito at mga plantita, 'di ba? Kung mapapansin nyo, hindi yan uso before COVID. Some would do it as a hobby because again, they have the time. Some would do it dahil mahal na ang repolyo, no? Siguro dahil mahal na ang sile. So they were forced to be more conscious in the environment, lahat in budgeting, um, in all aspects because of the pandemic. They have realized the impact that the humanity has sa environment natin, na kung ano yung kayang gawin ng tao sa environment, and they believe na they owe more to the society and the environment than before. So the question now is, with the rise of unified generation of workforce, no? Parehong generation, lahat is just Gen R, and with all these characteristics na napag-usapan natin, ang question natin as people managers, as HR leaders, what does this mean to our organizations? How do we adapt? What changes ang kailangan kong gawin to prepare my company, to prepare my organization sa Gen R and the new normal? The future workforce will be coming back to the post-pandemic world with bagong beliefs, bagong skill set, bagong aspirations, bagong work ethics. You know, they will have new expectations, they will have new priorities, um, and this will force organizations to adapt and evolve in order to meet itong mga demands ng Gen R. So, similarly, here are four things that HR, business owners, people managers can do. Number one is revisit employee mobility. Now, when employee returns to a state of somewhat normalcy, no, bumalik na ulit sa normal in the workplace, marami dyan would want to try new challenges. They want to test out yung new skill set nila para makapag-provide ng opportunities then within the enterprise. And we have to create those opportunities. Offering mobility to pick up projects for new teams and try new roles in addition to their usual jobs will provide growth, mga opportunities natin for growth na hinahanap ng Gen R. Para ka nag-open ng bagong spectrum of how we can develop and grow people within our organizations para hindi nila hanapin to sa labas. Kasi if we still do the same thing after everything that happened, and our workforce, Gen R, have developed new skills na before hindi nila alam, they will definitely want to utilize these skills. And kapag nagkaroon ng opportunity, maybe some other companies na nag-evolve, then we will lose these employees. So we need to revisit employee mobility. Number two is enabling yung totoong flexible work environments. Nasanay na sila dun sa ganong setup. For those who find increased productivity and efficiency in the remote work setting, yung mga companies should definitely consider supporting itong ganitong klase ng work conditions. Of course, with the right technology, with the right processes na I'm confident na meron na. Kailangan na lang ipagpatuloy. Anong ibig sabihin? This would mean na we need to remove yung mga functional limitations ng remote worker. And we need to provide high security platforms, invest in high security platforms, cloud applications na can run anytime, anywhere, any device. Kasi yun na ang nakasanayan ng Gen R, that they can work anywhere. At the end of the day, we need to shift our mindset na it's now about getting things done, not, and I've always said this in a lot of trainings in the past, hindi na susukat sa pahabaan ng oras sa office eh. Pwedeng nagstay siya, nag-overtime siya because half of the day he or she is unproductive. Kaya he or she has to go on overtime. At the same time, hindi ibig sabihin na umuwi on time, tamad na or walang pakialam sa kumpanya. Maybe he or she is just efficient in doing his or her job. So how we should deal with things and organizations is that we need to be results oriented. Ito ang target niya, ito ang goal niya, nagawa niya in this period of time, very good. Ganun na. And we have to provide platforms for them to do this anywhere. Next, we need to strengthen our workplace culture. Definitely need to revisit this kasi things are no longer the same. Employee expectations towards empathy, towards understanding, nag-alter na siya permanently, no? This has altered permanently kapag bumalik na tayo sa normal. Work life, personal life, yung dalawang yon, they have become one. And the importance for teams being understanding and flexible for personal matters will continue. Nasanay na tayo na ganun. And Gen are expecting na ganun pa din after. Leaders and managers will need to evolve their leadership and managerial styles accordingly. Kailangan, of course, mag-adjust ng mga supervisors natin, ng mga managers, ng leadership team dito in support of strengthening the workplace culture in response to Gen R. It will be very important for organizations to identify and strengthen yung workplace culture by empowering and supporting their employees through whatever new normal na makita din natin in other companies and best practices, etc. And lastly, provide purpose-driven opportunities. No, ang dami-dami nagsasabi, especially nung bagong nagsara ang mga companies na and this also is the same topic. I had one part of my talk nung first na Philippine HR Assembly na masusukat na ngayon yung mga companies kung ano yung ginawa nila nung nag-COVID. So in the future, when you ask your candidates about if they have any questions for you, this will definitely be a question na paano po dinil ni company X, ng company na to, yung pandemic, ano yung malaging actions niya, because they want security, and they want um, na pag naulit-ulit, kasi it's not impossible, nangyari eh. We thought it's impossible, pero nangyari. And they now have that idea, and they want to join organizations who truly cares about their employees. They need that sense of purpose then. So the current situation has placed nga new sense of purpose sa utak, sa minds ng mga tao. Employees will be looking to their organizations to assume greater CSR, na pag-usapan to from earlier topic, to support the greater good. Companies not being responsible corporate citizens will find it increasingly difficult to attract, to recruit, to retain Gen R talents. Siguro let's try to do maybe kahit simple, no? Consider simple things like wellness programs, volunteering initiatives that can help support organizations dito sa shift na to. And as mentioned nga earlier, it doesn't have to be, ng previous speaker natin, doesn't have to be lalabas. You can do CSR internally kahit within your organizations. So, how the world of work will evolve after itong current crisis natin is really unpredictable. Pero some of these trends will signify the beginning of a new era. Generational differences are losing relevance. Hindi na talaga importante kung ano yung generation nila. Kasi yung commonalities, uniqueness, yung pagiging pare-pareho ng Gen R will be the front and center of the future of work. I saw this line on the internet. I'd like to share it with you. Only resilient businesses and leaders will survive the COVID-19 crisis. We should be thinking of ways on how to be resilient, on how to transform the way we do things. If we do things the same way, considering the pandemic, then definitely the business will fall. So, thank you very much. I hope that has helped you understand this new generation, Gen R. If you have questions, then you feel free to raise them here. If not, then you can always visit our website, our Facebook page. Here's our email. If you need anything regarding HR, from recruitment to training, consulting, etc., here are the information. Thank you, everyone.
You for enlightening us, no, Mr. Michael Balansag, regarding the Generation R. Again, the common misconception of Generation R is not about the year, no. Actually, Generation R, no, is a group of individuals, no, na lahat sama-sama na ng generation dyan. So, let us entertain a few questions from the audience. No, good questions actually. So we have one from Desa Delen. Can you suggest more strategic ways on how to handle employees from different generations for them to stay longer with the company?
Okay, good question, Desa. No, and this is, I think madami ang nakaka relate sa question na to, because each generation nga is different. Pero trust me, as soon as bumalik itong workforce natin, most of them will be the same. All that matters is surviving. All that matters is them maintaining their career. In terms of strategic ways how to deal with employees from different generations, it's always important that we understand as well. Hindi tayo gagawa ng activities or action plans na generic, na applicable, na we think will be helpful. We need to understand how these, no, maybe contrary to our topic today, how they are different, what motivates them, and come up with ways based sa kailangan nila. Maybe one generation is really family oriented, So kailangan nila ng coverage for their family, na maybe health program for their families, for their dependents, and we can utilize that. Maybe one generation really factors CSRs, know how to make an impact in the environment. We also can use that as a way of dealing with this generation. Maybe another generation is really fond of remote work. No, they feel nga na they can do the work at any place as long as they have a computer, as long as they have a phone. So these are some of the ways that we can deal with differences in generations. Pero at the end of the day, all of these will become Gen R, and all of that matters is keeping their careers. All that matters is still growing, and how the company make adjustments para sa pagbabalik ng unified generation sa ating workplace. Jester.
Thank you for that, Mr. Michael. No, again, for other countries, they're actually transitioning to the training, no, to how to manage multi generational diversity in the workplace. No, hindi na sila napupunta dun sa how to manage millennials, how to manage Gen Z. It's actually now a question of how to manage multi generational diversity in the workplace. So that is a very good question from Desa Delen. So another one from Elsie Luna, we have, can you suggest some practical ways to encourage employees to report to office once in a while, given that they are enabled remotely already?
Okay. Good question, Elsie. No, thank you for asking the question. So as mentioned nga earlier, na nasanay na ang mga employees natin na mag-work from home. And if this is something that your company is okay with, the company is still hitting its targets, its goals, and has shifted na, okay, hindi na talaga required, maybe for the time being, na pumasok sa office or minimal na lang. And some ways that we can encourage employees to report to office is by actually a reward system. No, some would disagree na we should not be giving rewards for employees working na pumapasok sa office kasi it's their job, no, na mag-report sa office. But considering the situation, the pandemic, they're actually risking a lot to report to the office. Siguro ang mga tips would be providing a shuttle service or a transportation allowance, though it's not practical, no? Siguro unpractical, what you mean is parang cost efficient ways on ensuring that they report to office. So a simple acknowledgement of the people reporting to office is great, no? It will go a long way. You can also apart from ganon, if your company has the budget, then you can provide hazard pay sa mga employees reporting to the office, or you can come up with activities, of course considering lahat ng mga medical mga safety measures natin, to encourage more people to report to the office. Pwede rin namang maybe once a week, um, pwedeng magkaroon kayo ng isang parang mini activity in the office that people would want to attend to, kasi they miss maybe having activities, they miss their colleagues. No, after all, we're all social beings. That would make them voluntarily report back, or at least visit the office to provide updates. No, those are some things na pwedeng gawin. Definitely, kahit na we're all working from home, there are still times na we miss. No, we miss na pumapasok sa office, we miss na nag-yossi with our yossi buddies, we miss na pupunta ng 7-Eleven. We sometimes, I saw an article na na-miss nila yung paglalakad. So, ang ginagawa nila is naglalakad sa subdivision, set everything, lakad sa subdivision, and then babalik sa bahay. Doon pala mag-uumpisa ng work. They miss the sun, they miss traveling. So, it's not really that much of a challenge, but we need to come up and be more creative kung paano natin may hihikayat, may encourage yung mga tao na at least once in a while visits the office or your workplace.
Thank you for that, Sir Michael. No, interesting concept of Generation R, no? And they have actually used no unfavorable situation to build new capabilities, no? So yun ang Generation R, no? So for the first time, different generations are starting to think alike, no? The global workforce, as we have known it, has been made up of diverse generation, each with their own unique working styles and preferences. So again, thank you so much, Sir Michael Balansag, for gracing this event. And again, this is Plenary Session 5, Gen R, Rise of the New Generation Workers in the New Normal. Sir Michael?
Thank you everyone, no. Alam ko medyo lunchtime tayo, and ito na yung period na nakakaantok. It depends, no? Maybe nasa office kayo, maybe nasa bahay. But thank you everyone for watching. Do continue supporting Philippine HR Assembly today and in the future. And thank you again to all of our really generous sponsors making this event possible for all of us. So I look forward to sharing more insights with you in the next coming months. Depende, tingnan natin kung ano ang mga bagong trends, and we will definitely find ways kung paano natin pwedeng pagtulong-tulungan. At the end of the day, walang tutulong sa ating mga HR kundi tayo-tayo din eh. So para natin pwedeng pagtulong-tulungan na mailaban ang lahat ng challenges na kinakaharap natin bilang HR practitioners. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, Sir Michael, and good afternoon.